You've probably seen a copy of the Bhagavad Gita somewhere. Maybe on a bookshelf. Maybe in your parents' home. Maybe in a temple or a pooja room. But let me ask you something. Have you actually read it? And if not, do you know why millions of people have turned to this book for more than 2000 years? People facing failure. People facing loss. People facing uncertainty. People struggling with work, relationships, business, education, finances, and the pressures of everyday life. Could an ancient conversation on a battlefield really have something useful to say about the problems we face today? I wasn't sure either. But by the end of this video, you can decide for yourself. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story from ancient India. It's a conversation that has helped people navigate some of the hardest moments of their lives. And it all began on a battlefield. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and you have to face the absolute worst day of your life. Maybe you just got the email that your position has been eliminated. Maybe your business, into which you poured years of effort and savings, is on the brink of collapse. Maybe it's a medical diagnosis you never wanted to hear. A relationship that is falling apart. Or a problem that keeps you awake at night, wondering what comes next. You did everything you could. You prepared. You worked hard. You gave it your best. And yet here you are, staring at a challenge that feels impossible. You look at what lies ahead. And you freeze. What do you do now? Do you keep fighting? Or do you give up? More than 5,000 years ago, a warrior named Arjuna faced the exact same question. And what happened next became one of the most influential conversations in human history. A dialogue so powerful that people are still reading it thousands of years later. This is the story of the Bhagavad Gita. And by the end of this video, you may realize that this ancient text isn't really about a war. It's about every difficult decision you've ever had to make. The battlefield of Kurukshetra. The story begins on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Two massive armies stand facing each other. The Pandavas on one side, the Kauravas on the other. Thousands of warriors, hundreds of kings, war elephants, chariots, conches echoing across the battlefield. The fate of a kingdom is about to be decided. But as you listen to this, stop thinking about ancient armor and chariots for a moment. Think of Kurukshetra as your own life when everything goes wrong at once. Because that's exactly how Arjuna feels. Arjuna is not an ordinary soldier. He is one of the greatest warriors of his generation. He has trained his entire life for this moment. Yet when he asks his charioteer, Krishna, to drive him between the armies and looks around, everything changes. He doesn't see enemies. He sees his grandfather, his teacher, his cousins, his friends, people he loves. Suddenly, his confidence disappears. His hands begin to shake. His legendary bow slips from his fingers. His body trembles. His mind becomes overwhelmed. And he says, I cannot do this. This wasn't simply a military crisis. It was a complete emotional collapse. The same kind of collapse many people experience when facing debt, loss, failure, heartbreak, illness, or uncertainty about the future. And that is when Krishna begins to speak. Chapter 1 to Chapter 6. Who are you really? Krishna listens patiently. Then he says something Arjuna never expected to hear. Your sorrow comes from misunderstanding who you really are. Imagine hearing that when your entire world feels like it's falling apart. Krishna explains that Arjuna's biggest mistake is believing that human beings are only physical bodies. The body changes. The body ages. The body dies. But the soul is eternal. It existed before birth. And it continues after death. Krishna gives a powerful example. Just as a person removes old clothes and puts on new ones, the soul leaves one body and takes another. But Krishna isn't finished. Because even if the soul is eternal, Arjuna still has a problem. He still doesn't want to fight. So Krishna introduces one of the most famous teachings in history. Focus on your actions, not your results. You control your effort. You do not control every outcome. This teaching has helped people through every kind of crisis imaginable. Whether it's losing a job, watching a business struggle, failing an important exam, or feeling uncertain about the future, Krishna's advice is surprisingly simple. Do your duty. Give your best effort. Take the next right step. And stop carrying the weight of outcomes you cannot control. This path becomes known as Karma Yoga, the yoga of selfless action. Because suffering often begins when we become attached to results instead of responsibilities. Chapter 7 to Chapter 12. Who is Krishna? As the conversation continues, Arjuna begins asking bigger questions. Who exactly are you? Because by now it is becoming obvious that Krishna is far more than an ordinary friend. Krishna reveals something extraordinary. He is not merely a prince, not merely a charioteer, not merely a wise teacher. He declares himself to be the source behind all existence, the force behind creation, the sustainer of the universe, the presence within every living being. Krishna explains that people spend their lives searching for happiness through wealth, success, fame, and possessions. Yet lasting fulfillment comes from something deeper, a connection with the divine. Then he introduces Bhakti Yoga, the path of devotion, not blind belief, but a relationship built on trust, love, remembrance, and surrender. And Krishna makes an incredible promise. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, anyone can approach the divine through sincere devotion. This message opened the doors of spirituality to everyone. Not just kings, not just priests, everyone. The cosmic revelation. At this point, Arjuna has heard Krishna's teachings, but he wants proof. If everything Krishna says is true, then show me. Show me who you really are. And Krishna agrees. What happens next is one of the most extraordinary moments in world literature. Krishna grants Arjuna divine vision. And suddenly, reality itself seems to break open. Arjuna sees the entire universe within Krishna. Countless stars, infinite worlds, past, present, future, creation, destruction, everything existing at once. He sees time itself moving through all things. He sees birth and death unfolding across the cosmos. The vision is magnificent and terrifying. The warrior who once feared a battlefield now stands before something infinitely greater. Filled with awe and humility, Arjuna bows before Krishna. For the first time, he truly understands who stands before him. Chapters 13 to 18. How should we live? After witnessing the cosmic form, Arjuna asks the question that concerns every human being. How should we live? Krishna's answer becomes the heart of the final chapters. He explains that human suffering often comes from attachment, ego, greed, anger, and ignorance. But perhaps our greatest challenge is the mind itself. When life falls apart, whether it's finance, education, health, or relationships, our biggest enemy is often not the external problem. It's our own uncontrolled thinking. An uncontrolled mind magnifies fear. It turns temporary setbacks into permanent despair. A disciplined mind finds clarity even in chaos. Krishna teaches that every person has a unique purpose. Instead of comparing yourself to others, discover your own path. Fulfill your responsibilities. Act ethically. Serve others. Remain humble. Develop wisdom. Stay connected to the divine. And above all, do not allow fear to stop you from doing what is right. The end of the Gita. After hearing all of these teachings, Krishna asks a simple question. Arjuna, has your confusion been destroyed? And Arjuna replies, my doubts are gone. At the beginning of the story, he could barely stand. Now he sees clearly. The battlefield is still there. The armies are still there. The challenge has not disappeared. Krishna never removed the battlefield. What changed was Arjuna. His confusion became clarity. His fear became purpose. And for the first time since the conversation began, he reaches down, picks up his bow, and stands. Conclusion. The Bhagavad Gita is often misunderstood as a book about an ancient war, but its real battlefield is the human mind. And its true audience isn't ancient warriors. It's anyone who has ever stared at the ceiling at 3 in the morning wondering how they're going to survive the next month. Every day, we face our own Kurukshetra. The classroom where we feel we're failing. The empty office after a layoff. The hospital room. The difficult conversation. The uncertainty of tomorrow. The Gita does not promise that life's problems will magically disappear. Arjuna still had to face his war. But it offers something deeper. It changes the person facing the challenge. It gives us the wisdom to look at fear without surrendering to it. To look at uncertainty without being consumed by it. To take the next step even when the path ahead is unclear. Maybe that's why the Bhagavad Gita has survived for thousands of years. Because sooner or later, every one of us finds ourselves standing on our own battlefield, wondering what to do next, and searching for the courage to move forward. The question is not whether life will challenge you. The question is how you will respond when it does. Subscribe to the channel.